Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to ARH Design Academy, and today we are going to do the review of drawing set 4. Along with that, we'll also do discussion of mini test 4. But before that, let's start right away with the 2D composition. So this question was a very interesting question. You had to create a 2D composition depicting the plan of any famous building or monument of your choice. The composition should be a little abstract, so this word is a very important one, but should also have the essence of the original plan. And this question I had given for two reasons. So ek to in NATA April attempt you had plan based questions, so when you do research for this you will expose yourself to different buildings and different plans, so it will help you with that. And secondly, you will also understand how principles of design are used in the planning of that building, and how what are the implications of that. So you also have principles of design as the second part for this particular question. So I think it has these two things. Then you have a 3D composition where you had to use two mobile phones, one laptop, two, three books, and a phone charger. Show the effect of light and shadow. Fairly generic question. And you had a poster on the theme of Save Tigers. Now this one is by Snehal. She's from Hyderabad. So in this question, I have two, 3 points to make. First thing is, ek to we know that this is the plan of the Akshardham temple, which is located in New Delhi. Now, if you Google the plan of this thing, you are almost going to find almost the same thing. So I think this drawing that Snehal has sent, it has the exact same number of elements, and shape and size of the elements is the same. And I feel this is where the abstraction part could have been executed in a much better way, according to me. This looks like a plan colored in a very interesting way, plus there is a lot of intricacy as well. So particularly about this question, I think the uh, elements should have been mixed up a little bit, and few extra elements could have also been added. But again, uh, this is my prejudice, and or this is how I expect the answer to be. But if I leave that aside, I think it's a fairly good drawing, very intricate, very detailed work. And about particular talking about Snehal's work, I have been receiving her work very regularly, and I think there is a lot of improvement in her work. So this is a fairly good drawing. Out of 50, this would go around 25, 26. Definitely this would go around 25, 26. So this one was by Snehal. And then we move on to this particular one. This is by Aisha. So here she has done a composition. Now we know that this is Qutub Minar, but if you read the question, it says about the plan of the building. I had a discussion with Aisha regarding this, and I asked her if I can point out the flaws. So first thing is, the plan of Qutub Minar is not in place. If I remove the question, if I don't take into consideration what was asked, this is a beautiful composition. But because question is asking for something else and something else is delivered, a lot of marks will be reduced here. So if I have to give it marks out of 50, according to the question, she would get around 23, 24. But if I don't take the question into consideration, I think this would go around 26, 27, or even 28 as well, because this is a fairly beautiful composition. काफ़ी अच्छा काम किया है. This could have been used as a very good poster for Delhi tourism or Indian tourism. It's a fairly good drawing, but because question is misunderstood or it's misinterpreted, she had lost few marks there. So this was today composition by Aisha. Please keep in mind that whenever a question is given, you have to understand what the question says and you have to deliver accordingly. So this was another 2D composition. Then we move on to 3D composition. This is by Snehal. She's from Hyderabad, as I said. So this is a fairly good 3D composition. I generally have this idea that, or I generally tell my students ki whenever you are doing a 3D composition, don't try to involve or don't try to have your own engagements into this. So she has done, or she has used all the elements. You have laptop, you have books, you have phone, you have charger, all these things. She has also added another elements. But I think in 3D composition, you need to have an outside view or a third person view on this, don't try to involve yourself into the composition, because it looks more like a memory drawing rather than a 3D composition. Agar again, if I give marks, given that it is a 3D composition, it would receive around 26, 27, because if this part is taken out, it's a fairly good composition. Few points there is the contrast could have been much higher. You could have more highlights and more high contrast in your highlights and shadows. But if this was to be judged as a memory drawing, it would definitely be around 27, 28. So please again read the question properly and then do it. So this was by Snehal. Then we have another one by Krutika. She's from Mumbai. So this one, I think this is a very good example of how 3D composition should be done. Very good physical interaction, very good scale and size, very nice detailing as well she has done, the ports and all. It's a very good drawing. I feel scale is also executed very nicely. So out of 50 for me, this would go around 28 to 29. It's a fairly good work. काफ़ी अच्छे से किया है. Detailing is a very important part in your drawings. You need to have this small detailings that bring the real life object nature to the 3D composition. So this one was good. Then we have this one is from Aisha. So I think this is a very good example of 3D composition. Only thing is again, a lot of space is being utilized in something other than the composition. So if the size of the elements, if अगर वो थोड़ा सा बड़ा होता, it would have been much better. But nonetheless, very good finishing level, very good execution as well. Textures are added, very nice detailing, very good detailing also. So I think out of 50, this would go around 28, 29. Good work. You have been doing very nice work, very good improvement in your drawings as well. So that's nice. Now we start with the mini test 4. Now mini test 4 का first question is a MSQ or multiple select question, and this is based on the principles of design. Now question was identify the 4 prominent principles of design from the given option set for this image. So if you see right away, you have a very clear sense of focus, and that focus is achieved by radiation, and you also have a lot of intricacy in the composition. Now these 3 are very obvious, I would say, but then remaining ones are datum, axis, fragmentation and form, and balance. So now balance is not a very major principle of design, but out of the remaining options, balance is the best possible option out of datum, axis, fragmentation and form. So for me, if I had to give priority, first one would be focus, second one would be radiation, third one would be intricacy, and then fourth one would be balance. If you have attended the lecture on elements and principle of design, you know the concept of cause and effect. Now I'll explain that in very short way. The effect is focus, and the cause is radiation. Intricacy is a character or property of the overall composition, and balance is an underlying, or balance is the underlying principle of design in this. So this is focus, radiation, intricacy, in balance, in that order of importance. Then we have question number 2. The given image belongs to which style of architecture? We know that this type of question was also asked in NATA, and the answer to this is Roman architecture, and I want to explore upon that a little bit. So major defining elements of Roman architecture are, we consider 3 major elements. It is Roman arches, use of columns, and vaults and domes. So we will talk about that just in a second. Now generally when we talk about Roman architecture, a lot of philosophies and a lot of structural and philosophical concepts, mythological concepts are inspired from, and you can also say borrowed from Greek architecture. But there is one thing that Roman can have the full credit for, that is a Roman arch, or you have this semicircular arch which is known as a Roman arch, and that really gave the wings to Roman architecture, and it expanded the vision that Roman architects had. And arch, because arch can be again extended into tunnels, barrel roof, barrel vaults, a lot of different architecture elements were born because of Roman arches. Groin vault, which is an important architectural innovation, allowed clear story windows to manifest along with nave and aisles. Please search for this term, you will get a better understanding of what I am talking about. Also, I have one question for you. So this, I want you to search and let me know in the comment box which is this arch. Let me just clear one thing for you. This is not Arc de Triomphe. This is a different arch. So please let me know which arch is this. So after arches, there is another thing that is important in ancient Roman architecture is the use of columns. So the way Roman architecture took a lot of inspiration in mythology and architecture from Greeks, they also you know got, or they also took the column part. Now in Greek architecture, the columns were mostly load bearing. They used to carry the load, but a lot of times in Roman architecture they were used primarily for the aesthetic value or the aesthetic appeal, to increase the aesthetic appeal of the building. And some of them were considered into pilasters. Now another term for you to search and research upon. But generally columns in Roman architecture were used for purely for decoration. And as I said, Greek columns were used to support the building and temples, but in Roman architecture they were used mostly for the aesthetic appeal. And four common types of the columns that were used in the Roman architecture were Doric, Ionic, Corinthian and Tuscan. So if you want to know more about this, search for classical architecture, and there are a plethora of terms that you will understand when you research about this. You will also learn about what is abacus, what is pediment, what is dentil, what is cornice. Please go and read about classical architecture as well. Then the last one, and which is the natural expansion of dome arch, is a tunnel, or you can say vault. Now vaults were used by the Romans primarily were groin vaults and multi-groin vaults. And after that, the natural development was domes after vaults. They look similar to half-cut shapes. So if you have this sphere, you cut it in half. So you have this hemispherical mound, which is known as a dome. And in this you have an arch, arch manipulated in such a way after groin, after vaults, so that it becomes a sphere. And it also allowed covering much larger distances without the columns and beams. So it allowed for a column free structure with the shallow source of light coming in through circular aperture at the top, as they were major pros of the dome. So this is the dome of Pantheon. We'll talk about that just in a second. And they would also enhance the aesthetic sensitivity of the place. So this is where these are the another major elements of Roman architecture. So you see, this is called a vault, or it's called a barrel vault, and this can be found in Basilica Maximentus. And this is the plan of Pantheon. And I figured that if they can ask you questions on plan, they can also ask you question based on sections. So this is the plan of Pantheon, and this is the section. You can see hemispherical mound. You can see the complete sphere like this. It is cut in half, exactly cut in half. So this is how the geometry was also used there. And if you see this part particularly, which is outside the main structure, is called a portico, Portico. And I'm pretty sure by now you know that these is a colonnade. Please, I'm giving you a lot of terms to search. Please go through them by your own as well. So this was the plan and section of Pantheon. So these are the major elements of Roman architecture. First, Roman arches, semicircular arches. You can see them here as well. Then you have the columns, and then you also have the vaults and domes. So this is how you can identify Roman architecture. Then the third question was a little advanced one, I would say. This is not something very, I mean, it is not a very simple question. The image was given to you. This is the image of the central atrium, and architect's name was also given, and you had to identify the building. So all these buildings are done by Sir Norman Foster only, but this building particularly is the HSBC building headquarters, which is also known as HSBC main building, which is located in Hong Kong. Now, this building, as I said, is designed by Norman Foster, and this is a very beautiful building in its structural and the how it handles the structural load. So the main characteristic of the HSBC headquarters building is the absence of internal supporting structure. I'll show you the image later. Now it is made up of 5 steel modules. You see these. So these structural modules, what they do, they allow the internal structure of the building to be column free, and at that point the technology was not developed enough in Hong Kong, so they were prefabricated in UK and shipped to Hong Kong. The modular system, another term that you should look for, allows the building to be dismantled and moved in case there was possibility of disrupted handover to the People's Republic of China in 1997. So I think this might be an urban legend, but this seems like a possibility as well, where the building is designed in such a way that it can actually be dismantled. But this, I don't think that was the main concern behind that. I read it somewhere that when the project was given to Norman Foster, they wanted to establish a very good idea of, they wanted to go to their roots, and they wanted to establish a very good sense of belongingness to their city. So this was another aspect that were considered when designing HSBC building. Now it is also known for its energy conservation features, such as excellent use of natural light as a major source of illumination. Along with that, water from nearby harbour is also used as a coolant for the building's air conditioning system and to flush the toilets. And Feng Shui principles were strictly followed in the design of the building. For example, the building faces the Victoria Harbour without any obstruction, making it one of the most auspicious structures in that area. Now, there is another building called Bank of China. This is designed by IM Pai. This also uses a very aggressive Feng Shui to attack the nearby buildings, which are mostly, financial buildings in that area. And if you see, the structure is designed in such a way that it reduces the need of internal column structure, as I was explaining in a way. So these columns and this truss system, basically it removes the need of internal structure, and therefore it gives a very clear sense of clarity and openness. You see this 10th floor atrium, this is used to light to penetrate throughout, and this reduces the consumption of light in the overall building. Along this time, actually, if you search about this architect called Renzo Piano, he designed a building in Paris by the name of Centre Georges Pompidou. The main idea of, along with that, there is another building in London called Lloyd's Building. Now, the idea behind these kind of buildings is, see, in any building you have this an area or a space or a volume called as the core. Now all the elevators, all the steps, all the services, all those things, they go under the core, and the building is generally designed around the core. But in some experiment, Norman Foster, Renzo Piano and other architects, they started working, what if they take this core and they expand it, or they transfer it on the periphery of the building like an exoskeleton, and that also become the structural part of the whole building. So this was a very interesting experiment, and in 1995, when the building was completed, it was actually one of the most expensive building in the world at that point. And So again, a very influential building, and this opened up the ways for Norman Foster to enjoy the international fame that he enjoys today. Very beautiful building. Then we have question number 4. So you were given a painting done by Claude Monet, and the painting is called Haystack at Giverny, and the question was the painting belongs to which art movement? So the answer is Impressionism. Now, what Impressionism is? Impressionism word actually derived from this painting. The literally name of the painting is called Impressions Sunset. So in Impressionism, what you do, what they used to do is they used to go out in the air, and they actually used to do the way we do live sketching right now. The way we do live sketching now, they used to do the same thing. So it is based on the practice of painting out of outdoors and spontaneously on the spot rather than in the studio from sketches. Main impressionist subjects were landscape and scenes of everyday life, and the main aspect of impressionism, or the main characteristic of impressionism, is the short strokes, very short strokes. Impasto, there is this term that you should search about impasto. Painting भी होता था, and the focus was on how light changes the appearance of everyday life around you. So this was impressionism. These are some famous artists. They were associated with impressionist painting. So this was impressionism. If you have time, please go through these art movements also. I think we have talked about cubism. In future videos we'll talk about art deco and dadaism as well. Then question number 5 has a little bit of discrepancy. I had given you this information, but there was no question. So now that you have the question, I want you to tell me the answer in the comment box. So please let me know. Now you have the question, right? Use this information, get me the right answer. So this was question number 5. Question number 6 is a very simple question. It's based on average. So you have X and Y whose average age is 33. So we have talked about average as well. It's sum of observation upon number of observation. So average is sum of observation upon number of observation. So if you see X plus Y ka total age upon 2, because X and Y 1 and 2, right, is equal to 33. So the question says the average age of X and Y is 33. If Z's age is added to the average of their ages become 31, what is the age of Z? So let's say you have ages of average of X and Y. So the total ages of X and Y would be 66. And when X plus Y plus Z, when their ages are added, the average comes out to be 31. So X plus Y plus Z upon 33. So if you explore that, you have X plus Y plus Z is equal to 93. This goes there, and you put this value here. I think you get the answer to be yes, 27. So this is the right answer. That will be the age of Z. It's a very simple question, nothing much to explain. Then this is also a very interesting question. The length of the minute hand of a wall clock is 9 centimeter. What is the area swept in centimeter by minute hand in 20 minutes? So let's first draw the figure. Let's say this is 12, this is 6, this is 3, and this is 9. Now in 20 minutes, let's say we start from this, and this is 4. So in 20 minutes, it goes from here to here. It sweeps basically this much angle. Now the logic is it swept some part of the circle which is defined by this angle. So what if we want to do this area, what we need to do is we need to do the pi r square, the area of the whole circle, into the portion which is the minute hand is sweeping. So that is 120 by 360 degrees. So if you see pi into, because the radius length is 9, so 9 into 9 into 120 by 360. If you solve this, I think your answer comes out to be yes, 84.78. So this is a very simple question. थोड़ा लॉजिक डेफिनेटली लगाना पड़ता ही है. Then you have question number 8. Now this question I'll read it out for you. The perimeters of two square are 40 centimeter and 32 centimeters. Find the perimeter of a third square whose area is equal to the difference of the areas of two squares. Now you have to understand this question, right? Let's say you have two squares. इसका perimeter है 40 and इसका perimeter है 32, right? Now there is another square whose area is equal to the difference of the area. So first we need to find the side. So by common sense we know the side of this is 10 and the side of this is 8. Now difference of areas, so 10 ka square minus 8 ka square, that is 100 minus 64 is 36. That is the area of this square. If area is 36, side is 6, and if side is 6, 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, the answer should be 24. Yes, very simple. Again, the type of question that you will have, they will never have the focus on the calculation. They will always have their focus on if you can understand the question and you can identify what necessary steps are there to take. Then question number 9 is a puzzle. It is essential to life, yet it can take your breath away. This is an important term. It is both in you and around you. What is it? So the answer for that is water. I think about a lot of people have been asking about the puzzle type questions, and I have only one suggestion for that. Just keep an open mind. Just keep an open mind, and these things are not very difficult if you can think with an open mind, and the answer should be clear right away. So the answer to this is water. And question number 10 is a 30-second question. So you had to observe this image for 30 seconds. So I expect कि तुमने back या pause या ये नहीं किया होगा. You know, be sincere and you observe this image for 30 seconds. And then the question was asked, how many ducklings were present in the illustration? Now you can count the number of ducklings, but this is a question on memory retention. So see, the way you develop your power or mental power for this type of question is solving as many questions as possible. So if you can search about questions on memory retention and you solve them as much as possible, this will really improve that part, that observation part of your brain. And only thing, as I said, practice is the most important thing for this. When your brain knows that, okay, you have got only this much time, and then you have to observe as much as possible, and then you should be able to replicate that image in your mind and then count number of clouds or number of chairs, old people or ducklings in that case. It just needs some training, nothing else. So this was the mini test 4. I think you will have mini test 5 as soon as possible. I have been a little under the weather. I had taken the vaccine and I was having a very severe symptoms of the post vaccine symptom. But anyway, so this was your test, drawing set 4 review and mini test 4 discussion. So you will soon have your mini drawing set 5 and mini test 5 as well. I will urge you to send me as many drawings as possible, because the more drawings we have, the more we can receive crits on them and the more we can learn from the crits. So that being said, that's been my time today, and I will see you soon with mini test 5 and drawing set 5.